They know what you'll be Googling in 2025. They know who'll sit in the Oval Office. And they hinted at social media scandals before Facebook was even a dream. What if you're nothing more than a line of code in some cosmic simulation and the Simpsons writers are tapping directly into the source files? Whatever method they've cracked, let's discuss some of their most jaw-dropping predictions that actually came true. Capitol Riot, Season 7, Episode 18. This episode portrays an imaginary scene in which a disgruntled cartoonist and his cronies storm the Springfield Capitol building, complete with makeshift weapons and flaring tempers. 25 years later, in January 2021, real-life rioters breached the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C., halting the certification of an election and echoing the cartoon's chaos. What played as a darkly comic exaggeration on Fox turned out to be disturbingly prophetic in America's actual seat of power. Trump Presidency and Deficit, Season 11, Episode 17. Aired in March 2000, this episode flashes forward to a future where Lisa Simpson is President of the United States. Early on, she casually mentions that her predecessor, Donald Trump, left the country buried under a massive budget crisis.
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump.
At the time, Trump was known only as a real estate mogul and TV personality, so the joke landed with a smirk. Fast forward to November 2016, and Trump actually won the presidency, triggering debates about deficits and spending that echoed Lisa's offhand warning. When a throwaway gag becomes real policy drama 16 years later, you know Springfield has a knack for prophecy. Gaga Super Bowl Halftime, Season 23, Episode 22. Broadcast in May 2012, this episode features Lady Gaga descending on Springfield for an over-the-top stadium show that shakes the town. 5 years later, in February 2017, Gaga headlined the Super Bowl 51 halftime show in Houston, watched by over 100 million viewers. The Simpsons wrote the cartoon performance as wild, gravity-defying spectacle, and in real life, she delivered much of the same. What felt like a whimsical exaggeration became a genuine pop culture moment on one of the world's biggest stages. Live Bar Podcast, Season 21, Episode 21. Aired in May 2010, this episode shows Mo Sizlak running a live podcast from his tavern. He plugs a mic in, takes call, and riffs with his guest, basically the blueprint for today's bar-hosted audio shows. In the early 2010s, podcasts were growing, but still niche. Now podcasts are everywhere, with bars, breweries, and even coffee shops hosting tapings, live streaming conversations to audiences around the world. The Simpsons treated the idea as a quirky subplot, but it predicted how DIY audio content would explode. Climate Control Domes, The Simpsons Movie 2007. Released July 17, 2007, the film sees Springfield sealed with EPA quarantine dome after the town pollutes Lake Springfield. It's a satirical take on environmental disasters. In 2021, Dubai announced plans to build enormous climate-controlled biodomes to protect residents from extreme desert heat. While Dubai's domes focuses on comfort rather than pollution crisis, they echo the movie's idea of living under a protective shell. A cartoon satire on ecology turned into a real blueprint for weatherproof living spaces. Disney buys Fox, Season 10, Episode 5. In this episode from November 1998, a quick shot of a movie studio gate reads 20th Century Fox, a division of Walt Disney Co. It's a tiny background detail. Disney didn't own Fox back then, but in March 2019, Disney closed its $71 billion deal for most of 21st Century Fox's assets, including the studio. The joke was a wink at corporate consolidation long before it happened. Higgs boson mass, Season 10, Episode 2. Also from October 1998, Homer becomes obsessed with becoming like Thomas Edison. He fills his garage walls with chalkboard equations, one of which includes a number very close to the Higgs boson's mass. Physicists at CERN announced the discovery of the Higgs particle in July 2012, and its mass turned out to be nearly the same value Homer jotted down. Whether coincidence or not to insider science nerds on the writing staff, it's a surprisingly accurate throwaway bit that bridged cartoon antics and real-life particle physics. 3D Animation Debut, Season 7, Episode 6. This Halloween special aired in October 1995 and features a segment where Homer slips into a doorway that leads to a fully rendered 3D world. It was a bold stylistic experiment in an era where most animation was strictly 2D. By the early 2010s, mainstream animation studios routinely blended hand-drawn characters with CGI backgrounds or vice versa, making the technique standard practice. That playful peek into 3D realm foreshadowed the direction animation would take, turning a novelty into a norm. Watch-sized video calls, Season 6, Episode 19. Originally broadcast in March 1995, Lisa's Wedding gives us a peek at 2010, or close enough, when video calls are so tiny they fit on a wristwatch. Marge chats with someone through a little screen on a bracelet as if it's totally normal. Back in 1995, most people still used landlines and cell phones were bulky. By 2015, Apple introduced the watch with built-in FaceTime video, and other companies followed suit. What was once futuristic hokum became a regular feature for modern life. Horse Meat Scandal, Season 5, Episode 19. This 1994 episode features Principal Skinner serving burgers at school and cackling when he admits they're not beef at all, but horse meat. It's a gross-out joke at the time, but in 2013, Europe's horse meat scandal broke. Frozen beef products tested as much as 100% horse meat in some cases. Consumers were outraged, supermarkets pulled products, and regulators tightened rules on labeling and traceability. A cartoon gag about questionable cafeteria cuisine turned into a full-blown real-world scandal nearly 20 years later. These remarkable instances represent just a handful of times the Simpsons writers glimpsed the future. From presidential budgets to wristwatch video calls, horsemeat scandals to biodomes, the show's blend of satire and imagination frequently crossed paths with reality.